this is the beauty of all these productivity / self-help books, right?
Yeah.
How to find what you want to do. Let's say at that time you pick up a book like Ikigai, right? You find your Ikigai, if you remember that Venn diagram, whatever, So you've got the what, now you have to focus on the how.
How? Yeah. And then the why will
Books.
Yeah.
And the why will follow. So the books like this is a very good answer to the how question.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. I just when you were saying that, it just struck me. And yeah, in every aspect, even to stick with the how.
Yeah.
To stick with the how, you read books like Can't Hurt Me, where it teaches you self-discipline. You follow people like Jocko, which is like, true self-discipline, true leadership, and all that. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to yet another episode on the Book Talkies. I've got one of my very dear friend, Malavika Roy, and she has chosen how to fail at almost everything and still win big. Let's find out why it is such an interesting book to her and get to know how we can win big in our daily life. Let me welcome Malavika Roy on the Book Talkies.
Thank you so much. It's lovely talking to you on a weekend.
Malo, before we get into the book, just for our audience, could you just introduce yourself?
Yeah, lovely. I am Malavika Roy. So I've always been a bit of a nomad, and I enjoy the company of friends, but also I enjoy being a recluse. So, I'm just an ambivert, so I could swing either way. From an interest and hobbies perspective, of course, books. I love books. I love things about books. I love to visit historical places that connect me to those books. From a work perspective, I think, of course, you and I are also colleagues. So we work together in Accenture Strategy. Yeah, that's in a nutshell about me.
Super. Why did you pick up this book? Let me start with that.
To be honest, I'm in my mid-30s. And, you get to introspect in life when you reach that midway. And you feel, oh, have I actually achieved everything that I wanted to, that I had planned for? Or, what actually will motivate me now if I have not? So if I have not achieved, what will now motivate me? It's been so many years I've not been able to achieve. Now, if I have to achieve something new, or if I have to achieve an old goal, what will motivate me to keep pushing it forward? So, again, if you are already a super achiever, you have good looks, you have a great physique, you are, posting through life, maybe this book is not for you. But for people, majority of the people that I know who are, trying to really create an identity for themselves, especially when you are 30 plus years old, you have added responsibilities, you have a lot more things to, think about from a personal perspective, from a career perspective, from a lot of other things as well. I think this book is for you. Best part about this book is it doesn't try to be pretentious. Scott Adams clearly says in the title, how to fail at almost everything, and still win big. So he gives you that hope at the end of the tunnel. So guys, I understand that you failed at everything. And it's actually his personal story also. So he also says that I have also failed at everything. So he actually continues to say in the book, which I won't give as a spoiler, but he's tried his hand at a lot of things. Dilbert was just one of the things that he got successful at. But he tried his hand at a lot of things. And it was a lot of things felt that it was working out, but ultimately did not. A lot of things fizzled from the start. So he's dabbled in a lot of things. So he's actually saying that, guys, I'm not an expert. Don't take an advice from a cartoonist if that is what you feel. I'm actually primarily a cartoonist. Everybody knows me as a cartoonist. Don't take your advice from a cartoonist. But think of me as a friend who also has a suggestion. If you want to follow it, you follow it. I'm not an expert. And that's the best part that I love. He clearly states he's not being pretentious. This is my methodology, this is my thought process, and this is what I've achieved. How to fail at almost everything and still win big is not at all a bestseller. It's actually one of the good books. His actual bestseller is the Dilbert Principle. Scott Adams' actual bestseller is the Dilbert Principle, but this book is actually, I think, much better in that sense.
Okay.
So the interesting title, the premise, and how unpretentious it was actually got me hooked.
I found quite a few similarities from Atomic Habits in this book. He talks about you follow the systems, don't follow the goals, but follow the system.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And which is one of the founding principles in Atomic Habits as well.
Yeah. Completely. Actually, in fact, this particular point that you mentioned, I actually thought maybe it's borrowed, but then I later on got to know, no, it's actually two independent authors who thought the same way, but then later on joined the dots and, got to the point that goals are for losers. That's what Scott Adams says. Guys,
Yeah.
don't have goals in your life. It's the biggest mistake, actually. And I kind of feel that I agree. Because a lot of us miss our goals. So don't have goals, have systems. Systems are for winners, goals are for losers. And so, like, as a short example, if you say that I'm going to run 10 miles every day, ultimately, once in a month, you will at least fail that. And once you fail that goal, it might become twice in a month or thrice in a month. And then, you will ultimately start giving up that goal. Or even once you achieve it. So, for example, you've achieved it maybe 7 times in a row. What do you do next? What do you do next? You get demotivated. Goals are for losers. But if you have a system that, no, I'll be active every day, I will, try to maximize my activity per day. So have that kind of a system in place. Even if you go to the car, you will walk to the car. You will not try to, you park at the furthest distance. You will try to walk to your car. Or you will try to be more active in general. You try to walk up the stairs, etc. That actually keeps you fit. That actually keeps you motivated. So goals are for losers. And especially when you said that point, KB, that, when Atomic Habits speaks the same thing, I was blown away by how it is true. Great minds do think alike, because I was blown away by the fact that, it is true. That's actually true. I love Atomic Habits. I think I got one from you, The Psychology of Money, which I absolutely love. And this is the third book that I have really found to be one of the best books in terms of putting that perspective in your head. So
Agreed. I think it's how he says that try not to, even if you can't make that much time that you in your system for one or for the activity that you're blocked for, don't stop doing it. Do it.
Yeah.
Right. So to coming back to your example, 10 miles run for every day. If you can't make time for your other commitments, etc., run 100 meters. Run 100 meters. But it's just checkbox that you did that. The second thing, at least from Scott Adams' book, is one of the best pieces of advice that he ever heard was something like this: if you want success, figure out the price and then pay it.
For it. Yeah.
It sounds trivial and obvious, but if you unpack the idea, it has extraordinary power.
Yeah.
It's such a simple statement, but such a powerful statement. I remember when I was following MasterChef days, Gordon Ramsay, the famous chef, famous British chef. He said, I am here because I have missed out on so many of the parents-teacher meetings, so many of my children's achievements, meetings, so many of my wife's important dates, so many of my anniversaries. I'm here because I paid price for that.
Yeah.
Right? And that's why he's Gordon Ramsay. He's there.
Exactly. Price is different for everyone, just as success is different for everyone. For someone like Gordon Ramsay, it might be missing out on their children's, their play dates or their wife's important dates that they've set up.
Yeah.
For others, it might be foregoing a promotion at work, or it might be just to spend some time with their kids at home. Just to make sure that their work remains flexible. You forego those promotions because you don't want to get bogged down with just work. You want to have a life outside of work. So I think it's lovely. Success. I like the fact that this book is so it's so accommodating of everybody's personal choices. He doesn't give you direction in terms of what success should mean for you. He gives you a direction of what success means for you, and outline that in your head and make sure that you're willing to pay the price. And that price is different for everyone. It may or may not even look like a price initially. But those are the sacrifices basically that you have to figure out, and you have you have to keep that in your head. All we do sometimes is just wish that something happens, or wish this happens, or wish that happens. But it's true. What are you willing to pay for it, for that wish to come true? People usually do forget that. They just wish for a few things, but they forget what is the price that they plan to pay for it. So it gives you a wider perspective. You might think that a job or a career or a move or something might be good for you. But ultimately, you get bored of it because you haven't figured out what you really wanted in life, and maybe that's not the thing that you wanted actually. So that way it's really, I genuinely felt that was one of the best things that he said in the book. And I actually have, those 5 or 6 principles that the book teases. If you are okay, so I just go into. So number 1 that he says is goals are for losers, systems are for winners. That's the first thing that we discussed. Second is your mind isn't magic. So what you wish for in your mind doesn't really happen. But it's a moist computer that you can program. I think the third point, which I absolutely love, is the most important metric is to track your personal energy. So you might want to do this, you might want to do that, you might want to do 100 things in a process, but you are depleting your energy at every level. So, what motivates you, what intrinsically motivates you, what keeps your energy up, do those activities first. And then you get that push for the entire day. I genuinely felt that was a very good. Yeah, like for example, he mentions that, he's a cartoonist. So he wakes up in the morning and he does most of his creative work in the morning.
So the productive hours, right? Okay, understood.
Correct. And for you, it could be late in the night. For someone else, it would be middle afternoon or something. It doesn't matter on the schedule. It matters what motivates you, what is the time that you can then align for that particular motivation. Then the fourth point was every skill you acquire doubles your odds of success. This is wonderful. So in a very funny topic, he says, guys, you are probably not reading this chapter if you are making $1 million worth of music in your head, or if you are, Kobe Bryant, you're probably, Steph Curry. You're not going to read this chapter if you are already making millions and, you're very good at a particular skill like basketball or sports or music or whatever. But if you are like me, which is Scott Adams saying, if you're like me and you have had a corporate culture, you've picked up a lot of skills, some at which you are great, some at which you're mediocre, and some at which you are okay-ish, not great, but not bad as well. So, for example, if you're a good public speaker, you have good presentation skills, that's great. You are doing a good job that meets in your, making yourself visible in your work overall. So, a lot of mediocre skills or a lot of good skills is better and much more doubles your chance and much more, and doubles your chances for success rather than being excellent in one skill. Getting perfection in one skill is very difficult. I mean, it's doable, but it's only reserved for a very few talented people in the world. You pick up a lot of skills, you work on them, and it's best if they are all cohesive skills. All of them are complementary or cohesive skills. It's great if you pick that up and you just, work on it and you become excellent over time. You become perfect over time.
This is the beauty of all these productivity / self-help books, right?
Yeah.
How to find what you want to do. Let's say at that time you pick up a book like Ikigai, right? You find your Ikigai, if you remember that Venn diagram, whatever, So you've got the what, now you have to focus on the how.
How, yeah. And then the why will
books.
Yeah.
And the why will follow. So the books like this is a very good answer to the how question.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. I just when you were saying that, it just struck me. And in every aspect, even to stick with the how.
Yeah.
To stick with the how, you read books like Can't Hurt Me, where it teaches you self-discipline. You follow people like Jocko, which is like, true self-discipline, true leadership and all that. I mean, it's such a fascinating world out there. So many powerful people, so many beautiful books, and all of them are interconnected somehow.
Yeah.
And we're talking about this one of those aspects of how. Sorry, please go on. Please continue.
Absolutely. No, I love the fact. I feel that we actually focus on excellence a lot more than we focus on just being good. Like, we focus on perfection a lot more than just, doing stuff. For example, Sachin Tendulkar didn't become Sachin Tendulkar in one day, right? He actually mastered his craftsmanship. He became a master blaster. But then he started quite early and he had that talent. He just celebrated his 50th birthday recently. He had that talent always, but somehow he had to hone his skills. Not every one of us might get those chances of, honing their skills or being pushed in the right direction or getting a great coach and actually being able to perform on a world stage, which he did. So I genuinely feel, especially for us in the corporate career, career who have to work and, be also available for our other things. We need to actually make sure that we have a lot of cohesive habits which are good to medium. Make them work for us. And the best part is, Scott gives his own example that, guys, I'm not a cartoonist. If you see my cartoons, you will say that, okay, what is this scribbling of lines that I've made, right? I'm not a great artist. What I did was I used my corporate culture expertise with a mediocre skill in cartooning. And I built out a great story out of it. So it worked for me. So I was mediocre in all the other departments, but what came out of it was like a great product.
Yeah.
So I think that was lovely. I love the fact that he has a self-deprecating humor about himself. He actually he knocks himself down to our levels, and then he tries to, tell us that this is what I did, which I felt was fascinating. Next part was happiness is health plus freedom. And freedom means freedom to do a lot of your own thing that you do. So
Yeah.
happiness equal to health plus freedom is something that I absolutely love. It's very simple. It's a simple formula. We know it somewhere in our mind, but we don't really, write it or see it like this on a book or somewhere. Happiness is health plus freedom. People usually ignore their health. Personal happiness or success is different for different people. If you are a very driven person and maybe you feel that dedicating 14 hours to work, not having a flexible work schedule is success for you, is happiness for you, then more power to you. Absolutely, you can do that. But if you want to have a manageable work schedule, you have other responsibilities, and you're also healthy, that is in a lot of people's life, that is happiness. That is true happiness for them.
Yeah.
So they want to be able to also have a good career where they can pick up their kids from school, or, make breakfast for them in the morning, have the time with their wife to spend a quality time. Happiness basically is that metric for them. So if you're happy, if you're healthy, plus you have the type of freedom that you want, whether it's on work, whether it's for other things, you have the type of freedom that you want. That is a great, great metric for happiness. Which means that you're happy.
Absolutely. My personal example, I'm a stickler for a routine. Okay, I need my morning routine because that is such a dopamine for me to go through the day. If my morning is the way it goes, my day is top notch.
Yeah.
But if somewhere or the other something fluctuates, something is not going to my will, it affects my rest of the day. I know Scott Adams mentions, you should find your own rhythm, and you create your routine. Now, both of us, we know we have a routine, but does he give a solution to the things that if things are not going to your way, how to still, make things happen, or still he does? Okay, super.
He actually talks about two things. He says there are two types of people in the world. There are optimizers, people who optimize, and there are simplifiers. So he said, for example, I am a simplifier. What do? I have the simplest of routine. I have the most basic of routines. And even my cartoons are basic. If you actually see the cartoons, they're just 3 panels or 4 panels. They're extremely basic. So I am a simplifier. If I know that I have to go out on a date a dinner date with my wife, or if I have to go out for meeting my friends, then I have to make a reservation restaurant and then pick them up, I will choose the simplest path. I will choose a place which is nearby. I will choose my friends who are nearby to that restaurant. I will work out a schedule where even the movie theater is nearby, where the movies I want to play are that way. But, I just figure out the simplest path and do it. My wife is an optimizer. So, for example, she will take her car, which doesn't have fuel in it, so that on the way she can get refueled. And then she will pick out a restaurant which may not be on the straight path, but it might be a little away. But it has the best food in the world, etc. And very nice cuisine on the way. And then pick out a movie that you actually want to see instead of, just preferring nearby place with a not the first choice of a movie. So he said all of that is nice, but for someone like him, it really boils his blood pressure at times, because the more things you add to a pathway, the more things can go wrong. So he says 90% of the time her optimization works, and we end up having an even better time than we thought initially. At least I thought initially. But the 10% of the time that it doesn't work out, my blood pressure is like boiling. I look like a thermometer bulb, with the bulb being my head, and it's about to pop out. So he said, guys, one thing that I would want to tell you is always simplify first. You can optimize it later once you are, confident of a schedule, confident of a routine. Like even for Dilbert, he said, I started off very, very simple, very basic, and then start building in more nuances, etc. into the comic, and also into my routine. Now I can handle 3 jobs at one time. I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a cartoonist, I'm a blogger, and I have my own corporate job as well. So he said that's what. So I keep my routine as simple as possible. That actually frees up time for me for other things. So even if something doesn't work out, I still have the time to Like, for example, I forgot to exercise in the morning for whatever reason. I still have that flexibility to go and work out a bit later. At least my mood, if my mood was off in the morning because of, not being able to exercise in the morning, that's part of my routine. I can still go out and figure out a way that I can do it later. So my entire day doesn't get impacted that I didn't, hit a target or didn't stay active or whatever. So again, systems. So he's actually implemented his systems perfectly.
Wonderful.
I was blown away by that.
Yeah. Now let's go back to those two words that is typical for Scott Adams. Moist computer. What is that? Yeah.
So he says, guys, you have to understand a few things. There's something called psychology. You should be good at psychology. You should be good at design. And you should be good at, he talks about a few things, but mainly psychology, design, and what is it that you want in life. Your mind isn't magic. What you can do is consciously program it. So, for example, you want something in life, for example, just as an example, you want to probably be an entrepreneur. You have to prime yourself for that, increase your circle of friends in a way that is comfortable to you, but also who have people who are newer ideas. Or if you want to be funny, you want to be a good public speaker, for example, and you want to incorporate some funny jokes, you have to start reading those kind of, you may or may not have funny friends, but you have to start reading funny books. Maybe you have to start looking at some movies that will give you those ideas. You have to start reading the papers so that you are more topical, you know what's happening in the newspapers. So, it's all related to building, cohesive skills. So similarly, design. Everybody is designing something nowadays, whether it's an Instagram post, whether you are designing a PPTs for your work, whether, you are just laying out a design feature for something that you want to do in your house, or whether you're actually a professional designing games, designing video blogs, whatever. Like how you guys, how you and Anirudh have designed this entire podcast. So all of us are designers. Now, how we actually do it is, again, the difference between simplification and optimization. So your brain is a moist computer. You can program your brain to identify the most critical parts that you would want to achieve. And then later on, you keep adding flavors to it. You keep adding nuances to it. You keep doing things that you feel needs to be done. But don't start it off in that direction. If you like podcasts, for example, you guys do, you've already researched on Spotify, etc., how podcasts work. Start applying it is what he would say. Like, if you are a designer, you start applying what you see. And don't wait for the perfect moment. Don't wait for the perfect time. Prime yourself every day. Like, prime yourself. Keep priming yourself. And then one day, definitely something will strike which will be a game changer, or, something that you really want to do. So, but again, he's very careful in saying, guys, this will not happen like overnight. Nothing will happen overnight. So he's ingrained that idea that, guys, don't worry, if you're not doing things right now, you're not achieving things at the pace that you want, it doesn't mean that it will never happen. It will happen sometime. You just have to make sure that your your programming is complete at that point of time when it actually happens. So it will take some time, but don't worry. If you're on the right path and you're doing all the right stimuli, you're getting all the right perception, you're getting all the right directions, you're getting the right stimuli, the right kind of information that you need, you will definitely succeed. Might take some time, but you will get.
So Malavika, thank you very much. And to our audience, guys, How to Fail at Almost Everything and Still Win Big by Scott Adams, the Dilbert guy. And do let us know, has it helped you? Has it improved your life in any way?